Hey y'all, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to check out another one of my videos. Today is a very exciting video because if you've been on social media, I'm sure you've seen it, but Kailav Beauty is launching a new collection, and per usual, it's got me all excited. So I'm here to talk about it with you guys today. Gonna show you guys the new collection. I also will be sharing with you guys the 3 looks using the palette per usual, and I'm gonna go over and give my review as I'm using the palette. I got swatches to share with you, all the fun things. Let's go ahead and first start off just by showing you guys the collection. The first palette in this collection is called the Art Nouveau collection, or Nouveau. Honestly, I probably butchered either way, but this collection right here, and I'm not gonna lie, I had to stare at this picture for a little bit. I'm pretty illiterate when it comes to art. I'm not very familiar with the different artists and whatnot, so I was not familiar with this, but looking at it, I had to look at it a little while to realize it looks like someone leaning into a window from above and kissing his lover on the cheek. But if you were confused like I was, I figured I would just go ahead and throw it out there, because when I first got it, I was like, wait, what's going on here? Anyway, moving on past that, the important part of the palette is the inside, and can I just tell you that when Kailav sent me the email and was like, hey, do you want to try out a new collection? And I saw this palette, I was like, yes, like, oh my goodness, yes, yes, yes. I was so excited, because if you've been around my channel for a little while, I feel like the last couple of collections that Kailav has launched haven't quite been for me. They've been more like neutral or on the subtle mauve side, or just the more toned down side. And honestly, when I saw this got me just as excited for the brand as when their very first palette launched. The Impressionism palette, that palette, it just spoke to me, and this palette speaks to me. So I was so excited, so thrilled to get it, and as soon as I got it in my hands, I've been playing around with it. At the moment of me filming this video, I have done 4 looks with this palette. I'm only going to be showing 3 of those with you guys today, because I did one this morning when I was out at my kitchen table, so I did not record that. But anyway, I've tried it 4 times, so I've played around with this palette a good bit, and I'm ready to give you guys my review, and yeah, I just can't wait to get into it. But yes, that is the first palette in this collection, and then there's also a second palette to go along with this launch, and it's a collaboration. This is the collaboration with Sunshine the Bee. I'm not familiar with this influencer, YouTuber, Instagrammer. I'm honestly not familiar, so I don't know if she's on YouTube or Instagram, but they collaborated with her for the DayDream Palette, and this is a cake liner palette with a very fun color story. So I was like, oh my goodness, that is so fun. I'm going to be using this palette as well. As you guys can tell, I've already used it, but I am going to try to see if I can sneak in one more tutorial after I do the intro and outro for this video. I'm going to see if the kids are still asleep. I'm going to do one more eye look, because I want to do one eye just with this palette. I think it'd be a lot of fun, because there's just so many fun colors. So if you see 4 looks during this and one of them just with this, that means I succeeded. But anyway, yeah, as I've been talking, I went ahead and put the price on the screen for you guys for both of these palettes. And I'll go ahead and stick right here as I'm talking the details for the launch as I know it. When I'm editing this video, I always try to put the most updated information, and of course you can look at my description box to see. But as far as I know, at the time of me filming this, they're announcing it today. They said I could put my video out today, the day that they announce it, and then there's going to be early access on the 22nd. If I have my days correct, it'll be the 22nd, and if you're signed up to their email list, then you will have early access. So if you are at all interested in wanting to get these early access before the official launch date, make sure you're signed up for their emails. And I just double checked, the official launch date is the 24th. So if you do happen to miss the early access, they are doing a regular launch on the 24th, where anyone and everyone can purchase either of these palettes or both of these palettes. But anyway, those are the details for the launches of this palette. I do want to say huge congratulations to the collaborator of this, Sunshine the Bee. I think it's a really fun color story. I have been very inspired whenever I open it, and yeah, we're gonna get into it, but I have enjoyed playing with it and whatnot, and I like that there is 2 shimmers and the red mattes. But with saying that, let's go ahead and just dive into these swatches for these palettes before we get into the tutorial, so you guys can see how they swatch on my arm. I'm going to swatch both of them. I'll do the palette first and then the cake liner palette. And I do want to put out a little disclaimer. I don't typically swatch cake liner palettes, so I feel like I put in more water because I was trying to do a lot and I had a big brush, and so some of them I felt like were a little bit more wet than I would do on my eyes. So just keep that in mind. I was just basically trying to show you guys the color and how intense it is when you do, use them on your eyes and whatnot. But when I use them on my eyes, I tend to wait for a bit of a thicker consistency before I use it on my eyes, just to make sure there is no running. But since I was just swatching on my arm, I wasn't that picky, so just something to keep in mind, but I hope it is still helpful for you guys. So let's go ahead and just jump right in and get into swatching these on my arm. All right, so there it is on my arm. And just so you guys know, I did those swatches this morning, both the palette and the cake liner palette, but I did the cake liner palette last, thankfully, because it's still a little bit stained on my arm. Now, I haven't really scrubbed it with a makeup remover wipe, but just soap and water and also a baby wipe. I was scrubbing for a while, and it's not coming off, so we'll see how many days it lasts. But anyway, just thought to throw that out there. My arm is most definitely a little bit stained. But yeah, those are the swatches. I was super impressed overall. I feel like in the palette there are a couple, which I think you guys can see as I was swatching it, that were a little bit weak, but we're going to get into that during the tutorial, because during the course of the 3 looks that I did for this tutorial, I think I used every one of these on my eyes except for maybe this one. I forget. We're going to see. I know I used one of these 2. I think it was this one, and then maybe this one, which I used this one this morning. So at the time of me speaking to you right now and giving you my review, I think I've only not used this shadow right here. But anyway, we're gonna get into it and kind of get into the nitty gritty. If you're new around here, I do my tutorials voiceover style so that I'm able to, as you know, the tutorial is going along and you guys can see what I'm doing, I'm able to give you guys a review on the individual shadows, the ones that I'm using in that moment. And I find that's just the best way for me to do tutorials. So as we go along and I'm using this shadow, I'll let you guys know what I thought about that shadow, if I had any issues with it, if I think it's a really strong shadow or really weak shadow, how the shimmers are, and all that sort of thing. So if you are curious about that, getting into the nitty gritty of almost every single shadow in here, and let me see how many in here, I forget. I can't even remember, and also I might be sticking in a bonus, so I'm not sure how many I used from these, but at least 4 or 5 I feel like, if not all of them, if I can get that bonus one done. But anyway, a lot in here and almost all in here. Let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial so you guys can see my thoughts on these 2 in more detail. All right, let's jump right in. I'm just diving into Gerard's Clean Canvas eyeshadow base for my primer, and then I'm gonna go into the black there, and I'm packing this on the outer corner. I was really happy with how that was going on, and then I went with the blue and put it right over it. And this, I was curious if the blue would stick, if it would kind of mesh. I was wanting to get more of a deeper blue. I didn't really want it to look like black with a hint of like blue over it. So I'm just going over top of it with the blue, taking my time, blending it a little farther out, and just to get a nice seamless, kind of like a smoky cool tone blue look on the outer corner. With the yellow, I'm putting that on my inner corner, and this yellow I feel like was a little bit weak. Now keep in mind my skin tone does lean very yellow, so I don't know if that has something to do with it, but I just felt like this could have popped a little bit more. It kind of blended into my skin, but it definitely does still give my eye color a hint of yellow, so I can't fault it too much. Moving on to the green, I'm putting this kind of between the blue and the yellow, and I'm bringing it down into the yellow and then over on the outside of the blue. This green really served the purpose that I wanted it to do very well. I didn't want it to be super like intense and be difficult to blend out. I really wanted it to work between those 2 colors to mesh and blend everything together and give that hint of green all around the look, and it did that purpose very well. As I've gone on to use this shade in other looks, I have noticed it being a little bit weaker than some of the other shades. Like, it's not super intense and rich and packs a punch, but you can, you know, take your time and build it up and get it there. So just something to keep in mind. Putting down some glitter glue, I am then going into the shimmers, and I'm taking that green one first, and I'm just going to use it to cut out kind of like a cut crease look, keeping this very high into my cut crease. And this shimmer, as you guys saw, I do have glitter glue down, but it goes on very nicely, very smooth. It's definitely a shimmer formula. I wouldn't really say it's like metallic or foiled looking, but it's definitely an intense shimmer with a nice amount of color that really pops when you apply it and doesn't take a whole lot of effort to get it onto your eyes. Same story with the orange. I put this down at very intense orange. It looks just like it does in the pan as it does on my eyes, so very happy with that. And as you can see, like, I also didn't have to build it up at all. Like, I got the intensity right away with that first application, and then I'm just going to go and kind of spread it out to the, you know, areas that I want it to, and then I'm going to go back and forth between the green and the orange to really blend and mesh the shimmers together. And these 2, I thought the shimmers, both of them, blended really nicely together. I didn't have any issues, you know, getting that line between the 2 to disappear. Taking the blue, I'm adding just a touch on the outer corner to kind of soften where the orange hits the blue black. But anyway, once that was done, I went to the lower lash line, and I'm just putting a little bit of black there as well. Again, nice and pigmented, no issues there. And then I'm going over all of that black with the blue, and this, again, it goes over very nicely and just gives the whole black that I put on my lower lash line a hint of blue that I think ties the whole look together. Then for the inner corner, I took that white. I had to do it. That white looks so very pretty, and I mean, just look at it. This is one dip in the pan as I'm applying it to my inner corner, and it pops so beautifully. I was super impressed. Moving on to the DayDream palette, the graphic liner, I chose the orange for this look, and I'm just going to use it to create create a winged out look. And as you can see, it's very vibrant. This orange is going over very dark colors, that black, and a lot of times with some graphic liners that I've tried in the past, when you take a really bright light color over very dark eyeshadow, it can kind of disappear. So I was happy to see that this popped no problem. And once I did that, I put on some mascara, and that was the final look. So I'll show you guys some close-ups so you guys can really see, but this look is right up my alley. It's just a look that I really like. It's got the colors, got the green and orange that I love, but it has that depth on the outer corner with that kind of smoky black blue that the shadows gave it, and overall I love it. And the liner I actually really did enjoy. It's a really fun pop that kind of ties the whole look together and didn't look too out there, but overall very happy. This was my first look with the palette and I was thrilled. All right, for look 2, I'm gonna go ahead and use the Zoeva eyeshadow primer to prime my eyes, but I'm going into that red and packing it on the outer corner. I wasn't sure how dark or light this shade would be, and it's definitely not super like a deep dark red, but it's a very nice red, like kind of a true red, not too light, but not super deep, as I said. And then moving past that, I'm taking the orange and I'm putting this into my crease and just blending the edges of the red out. This shade also I thought showed up very nicely, a very intense, bright orange, very easy to blend out and very, easy to mesh it into the red. I mean, they are, close on the color wheel, but overall very easy to work with, and I got the look that I was going for very easily, and I just like that the color that I see on my eyes is what I saw in the pan. So for the red and the orange, very happy with them. I wanted to see how the black did on top of eyeshadow, so here I'm going to use it for my wing liner for this look, and as you can see, like, this was just one dip in the pan and it stuck really nicely, very beautifully, and as I continued to use it and work with it and apply it to my eyes, I thought it was a gorgeous black. Like, it goes on very nicely. There's no kind of patching issues or no struggle of the black to like stick to my lid, even though I already have eyeshadow down. So very impressed with this. I always like a black that can be versatile and not only creating looks but also kind of being the finished touch with a wing. I was really happy all around, and I was able to get a really nice smooth line with this black. Next, going into the white shimmer, I wanted to use this all over my lid, and as you guys saw, I also didn't use any primer or glitter primer underneath, so it's not super tacky, just from the original eyeshadow. And as you can see, this shade still popped so beautifully all on its own, and that's something that I'm very impressed with and happy with Kailav's shimmer formula, is that they stand on their own 2 feet just fine. I mean, yes, you can wet them or put it down a tacky base to make them pop even more, but also if you don't want to, they don't need that help. I think that this white went on so beautifully all on its own. Very impressed. And then to just fill in the gap between the white and the matte red on the outer corner, I'm taking that kind of cream colored pinky shade in the palette, and I'm just placing that down. Again, goes on very nicely, very smoothly, just as beautiful as the white. It's just a little bit more of a softer color because of the shade that it is, but very happy with it. It was very easy to work with, and yeah, very easy to mesh and blend it into the white as well. For the lower lash line, I decided to use the brown because I was curious again how deep of a brown it is, and this is definitely, in my opinion, a mid-tone brown. It's not a brown that I like to use on my outer corner or anything like that because it doesn't give me the depth that I like, but for my lower lash line, I feel like it wrapped up the look just fine. Going over to the DayDream palette for the graphic liner, I took that very kind of peachy shade in the palette. I'm using that to give me kind of a cut crease look. I had no idea what I was going to do going into this. I didn't just want to keep doing the same thing over and over for all the looks. So I cut my crease, and then I'm also going to kind of surround and I guess you could say highlight the black wing that I put on with this graphic liner. And I know I get sloppy here, but that is entirely my fault. Like, I thought the formula of the liners was fantastic. It was very smooth, went on, again, very opaque and very bright of a color. And then just to kind of try it, I decided to use that shimmer white in the cake liner for my inner corner. It's actually very much so like a close color to the white I used on my lid, but this is just cake liner form. And as you can see, it went on beautifully, and I wasn't expecting it to, so I was like, huh, that's a nice little dual purpose for it. But anyway, here is the final look all completed. And again, I know my graphic liner work really struggled in this look, but some days you get them, some days you don't. But anyway, overall, the performance-wise of the two palettes, I was very pleased with them. All right, third look. This is the final look with the eyeshadow palette. I'm using the Anastasia eyeshadow base and then going right into the purple. As you guys saw in the intro, doing a green purple look. This purple goes down very nicely, but definitely something I noticed is it's more of a mid-tone. It's not really a deep purple. So if I wanted to create an eyeshadow look that had a really deep purple on the outer corner, this would be a shade I definitely mix with the black, kind of like I did with the blue. It is a little soft when I'm applying it, but I am able to pack on more and get it to the type of, consistency and the intensity that I want with the color. There was a little bit of an area where I thought it was kind of patching because I was putting on too much, but it smoothed out just fine. Once I was happy with the shape with the purple, I moved on to the crease color. And this, I took the green, and here I am using the green again. As you can see, it's a very light green, even though I feel like in the pan, it's kind of a mid-tone to dark looking green. When you actually use it on your eyes, I would classify this as a very light type of green. So as you can see, I'm taking a little bit of time to really build it up, and I do get a little bit more intensity, but honestly not a lot. And in touching it too, I feel like it's a bit thinner than some of the other shadows, like in texture. So just something to keep in mind. This green isn't like super intense and rich, but it gets the job done. And then just going into the shimmer green, I'm just going to cut the crease and put this pretty much all over my lid. I'm leaving a little space in the middle to try another shimmer, but I just wanted to use, as I said, I was going for a green and purple look. So even though I already used this in the previous look, I'm using it here again, and once again it performed very beautifully. So then I'm going into the purple in the palette, and again, I'm spraying it just to try something different. Since I tried glitter primer and then I tried nothing, I figured I would just spritz it a little bit, and I'm applying that on. And this shade, I feel like definitely you can see the color, it goes on, but it was a little bit more difficult than any of the other shimmers that I tried at this point to apply on my eyes. So it's just something to know. I was like, I feel like I can't pick it up from the pan. So I actually just scraped it with a little spoolie to kind of rough up the spot where I feel like it had just like a hard pan or a hard, just layer over it. And then I picked it up again, and I felt like it went on so much easier there. So I don't know if this is going to be a reoccurring issue with this shadow, or if it was because I was spraying and had a wet brush going into the shadow, but just something to keep in mind. But anyway, I scratched it and it's fine now. And then once I like where those two are, I'm going to the graphic liner palette, and I'm taking the darkest purple and just lining straight across my eyes, not doing anything too fancy here. It got a little bit carried away because this was definitely a bigger brush than I should have been using, but it applied very beautifully, very opaque. And then once that was done, I'm taking that lavender color and cutting my crease very sloppily, as you can see. Thankfully, I had a thinner brush, so I kind of saved it just by filling in the weird parts to try to smooth it out. And then once that was done, I did give myself a kind of winged out, just straight across. I decided not to connect it around, but I did bring it up, and then I'm going to bring it back down to connect it with the dark purple and kind of fill and try to get a little bit of a mesh or ombre there. But these two shades worked very nice, and as you can see, once again, this lavender shade is very light, but it has no problem showing up and popping against the darker purple, and I was super happy with that. To complete my lower lash line, I decided to take that kind of blue purple shimmer, and I'm putting on my lower lash line just to see and use it because I didn't get to use it in any of the other tutorials. And this actually went on very nicely for my lower lash line. Even though I'm blending it out, it has a soft color to it, so it worked really well on my lower lash line. And then for my inner corner, I'm taking the white again. I love the shade so much. It's just so stunning. Takes such little work to really pop and shine in your inner corner. And that is going to be the final look with the eyeshadow palette. I really enjoyed how this look turned out. Someone in my comment section made a comment a couple weeks ago saying purple and green are such a pretty combo together, and ever since they said that, I have been thinking about doing this, so finally did it today, and I really did enjoy it. Purple and green together are a gorgeous, stunning combination together. All right, so we're gonna dive into the all graphic liner look, and I'm priming my eyes with the Lorac eyeshadow primer. I realize I'm holding it backwards, but anyway, after that, I did also use this concealer to go on top of it to give myself a very smooth base that kind of blended into my makeup or my face makeup, since I'm not gonna be using a lot of color like on my eyeshadow and blending. And then I'm going right into that really like bubblegum pink liner and just lining my eyes with it. Again, a really nice formula, very smooth. You do have to spend a little time mixing mixing the water in to get the right consistency. But once you learn like the perfect consistency for you, I feel like it's so easy and effortless to get it. And I'm just gonna line my eyes and once again do a full cut crease type of look. I think you can see a little bit there, but I do have some staining from the previous look, the green purple look. So definitely something to keep in mind if you're using this palette. It is very likely, highly likely to get staining, so keep that in mind if that's a problem. You might have some lines remaining even after using makeup remover. Once I had the pink the way I like it, I'm going into the orange. And this is a very like light application. I feel like it's really hard to tell on camera, but in person I could see it up close. But it's just supposed to kind of be a little like peekaboo orange, and I'm just doing on the outside and then on the inside of this liner look. And I'm using a very tiny thin brush, so I don't know how helpful this will be for you guys to really be able to see the orange, but hopefully the swatches help you. But I just wanted to use it, and again, another shade that was very easy to use, and again, it's very smooth and bright, like it popped. Once that was done, I went into that mint shade. I really wanted to have something that really popped with this look, so I felt like the mint was one I hadn't used and would do the trick, and I definitely think it does. Look how bright and vibrant it shows up. Again, formula is just the same as the other ones I've been using during the tutorials, and it's just so easy to use, goes on very nicely. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say besides that. They're easy to use. It's pretty easy to get the right consistency. And I even did a little mess up as I was doing it. I think you can see there with the little, I didn't just dip down too far into the orange. So in a minute, you'll see me just take the orange and go back over it. And the orange covers it beautifully. Like you can't even tell that there was any of the mint left over. So these are very nice and opaque graphic liners, cake liners, that I am super impressed and super happy with. For the rest of my lid, I decided to take that white shimmer at the top of the palette and put it all over my lid. So I just took a little bit of water to wet it and then rub this little eyeshadow brush on and then place it on top. And as you can see, it went on beautifully, like a very nice and popping. It gives you a beautiful shine and honestly just looks like I put an eyeshadow on my eye. I was super happy with it, and just another way I kind of wanted to try and use it. So I'm curious to use this as a graphic liner, how much it'll pop because it is so white, but the shimmer shine on my eye is very pretty. And last up, I decided to use the purple on my lower lash line. Honestly, don't know why, and I should have had a much finer brush, but I didn't. And then I decided to wing it out. This is where I really have big regrets. I should have just not done anything to my lower lash line, but I couldn't take it back, so I just kind of went with it. So yeah, definitely a designer error here and just like why I put that there. But at least you're able to see me using the purple again in a look and seeing it winged out a little bit there, and hopefully that'll help you see again how pigmented and how easy they are to use. But yeah, that was the final look. That is my all graphic liner palette look that I put together, and I feel like in the close-ups especially, you can really see the orange pop. The pink pops so beautifully on its own, and that mint is stunning, absolutely beautiful. So as a whole, the formula of this palette I was just really, really pleased with. All right, so those are the tutorials, and as I always like to ask, which one was your favorite? This look right here is actually, I want to say, inspired by Giovanna, so I will leave her channel link down below, but she did a type of look like this, not the colors, but just the shape of it is something she has done before on her Instagram and YouTube, so I'll leave her link down below. I always get such inspiration from her to like do different things with my eye shapes and do different things with my liners, so definitely check her out if you are at all interested in cake liner looks or just fun and interesting type of eye shape designs and whatnot. She's thebomb.com. But anyway, yeah, definitely let me know which look was your favorite, and let me know your thoughts after seeing all of these up close and personal. And with that, let me go ahead and segue, and let's get into my official review for these palettes. All right, let's first talk about the Art Nouveau palette. Again, I'm sorry, but the first palette, the eyeshadow palette, this palette really, really does inspire me. Like I said, I've been intrigued by Kailav's launches of the previous palettes in the last year. You know, I think they have aspects that I have enjoyed, but I feel like as a whole, ever since Impressionism palette launch, it's always been about like half the palette I feel like that really inspires me and gets me excited. But this palette, I can honestly say the entire palette excites me. And today I actually did a very neutral look, and I just used, I think it was the black, the brown, and this shade Mucha right here. I used just those, created a super neutral look that I thought was very beautiful. So it's nice to know that even though this palette is super bright and like full of color, you can also get a pretty neutral look if you need that in a palette. If you want to take it on vacation, you want to know you can get a very neutral look, you can definitely get it in this palette. And I did a more like you know, reddish tonish neutral. It wasn't super neutral during the tutorial. Overall, I think they have a really nice balance, and I like the balance personally to have a lot of color but just a little bit more neutral and a little bit toned down shades thrown in there to be able to do that and get more neutral looks or super colorful, or you can just mix and match them up and do more neutral looks with a pop of color, or you can do a lot of color with a very neutral lid, that sort of thing. So I love the variety of colors in here. I've only created 4. I know I'm going to continue on and create so many more before I do my official, you know, like end of the palette review after I've done all the looks I'm going to do from this palette and I do a palette palooza and feature it. I can't wait to see what type of looks I can come up with, because as I was sitting down to do the final look for this video, I was like, oh my goodness, I can only do one more look. What colors do I want to combine? And I had to really sit there and think about it, because there's many more color combinations that I can't wait to do. As a whole, as you guys heard during the tutorials and hearing me talk about the palette and the quality of each shadow, the mattes and the shimmers, I am very happy. Yes, there are a couple weak links in my opinions. When it comes to the mattes, I feel like these two were kind of weak. And then when it comes to the shimmers, honestly not overall like really weak links, but just more like firmly pressed and a little bit difficult to pick up with that purple there. But as I hopefully mentioned during the tutorial, I did just take a spoolie and scrape it off, and I feel like it was very easy to pick up after that. So if that's something that annoys you, keep that in mind. But for me, I'll just kind of keep that in the back of my mind of like, oh, if it's getting difficult to pick up, let's just scrape off the top, because for whatever reason that shade is wanting to get a little bit more hard pan, or just, I don't know, pressed down too firmly to pick up than the others. I didn't really notice that difficultness to like pick up with a brush or even swatch it with any of the other shadows. The life shade right here, this very vibrant white one, might have a little bit, it's hard to see because it is white. It might look like there's a little bit of a hard pan, but honestly I didn't notice it ever having a difficulty with picking it up. And it was really only the dreamy shadow, that purple, that was both difficult to swatch on my finger and then difficult to pick up with a brush until I scraped it. So honestly, a very few weak links when it comes to this palette, because those literally are it when it comes to the duds of this palette. Every other shade that I used, I was super impressed with. That black, I mean, did you guys see? I used it mixing it with other shades to try to, you know, see if I could get a dark blue. It worked great. I put down the red and then I put the black on top, and I was curious if I could get the black to stick, and it stuck no problem. And just the black is so versatile. It pops on its own, it blends beautifully with the others, and it still can go on top of other shadows if you want to just do a wing liner with it. That's a black I love, so I'm super happy with it. But yeah, overall, we've already kind of gotten into the nitty gritty. As a whole, what do I think of this palette? I really did enjoy it, and I cannot wait to continue using it. This is a palette that I created 4 looks and I'm still not bored, and that's always a good sign for me when it comes to a palette color story that gets me excited to create different looks with it and whatnot. The quality of the palette is just as I would expect from Kailav Beauty. It's very easy to work with, very pigmented, and the shimmers, they're nothing sparkly, they're nothing like super shifty or anything like that, but they are very nice shimmer shadows. I wouldn't say they're like super metallic, but they're definitely intense shimmers that, as you saw, are easy to apply even without like any type of sticky base or any type of glitter primer underneath. They still show up just fine, and I was really happy about that. Segueing over to the next palette, the DayDream Palette, that was collaboration with Sunshine the Bee. This palette right here is, as I said, a cake liner palette. There are 2 shimmers and the rest are mattes, and this is a very fun color story. There are a lot of cake liners on the palette, but I feel like this gives you something a little special and different and unique, and I was really happy about that it wasn't just, you know, a rainbow neon palette or, you know, rainbow pastel palette, or even just like 2 colors or stuff like that. It gave you something different. You have a more focused on, you know, the purples and pinks, but it's got the orange in there, it has the coral, and then it has these 2 shimmers. I would not have thought to try to use a water activated liner to do anything on my inner corner, but as you guys saw in the tutorial, I used this white one on my inner corner and it popped beautifully. I thought it was gorgeous, and it stayed really well for being just, you know, water activated. I thought my, you know, watery eyes would make it run very quickly, but it stayed very nicely, so I was really impressed with that. But yeah, overall I was really happy with it, and I feel like I'm not a whole lot of help when it comes to cake liners and like reviewing them, because like I said, I rarely come across a cake liner palette that doesn't work for me, and this is, you know, no exception. It works great for me, so I'm super happy. I like the colors. If these are colors that you don't have in your collection of cake liners, or maybe you're wanting to dip your toes into cake liners and you like these colors, this would be a great one to do. But yeah, another palette that I was really happy about, and I was excited that Kailav was stepping into graphic liners and cake liners, because you guys know I really enjoy them. It's always fun to add a little something to your eyelid, and yeah, I thought they did a great job. Cover design as well, absolutely beautiful. This is gorgeous, and I love that the like what colors in the pan are kind of represented with the makeup on the model. Absolutely beautiful. Love the flowers. Love everything about it. So yeah, that's my review on that. So that's gonna pretty much sum up my video. I feel like it's short and sweet to the point when it comes to my review video, and I hope it's not too unhelpful that I'm just gushing about how much I enjoyed it, because I was overall super happy with it, very impressed with it, and just experienced what I expect to experience when it comes to Kailav's eyeshadow formula, and then really happy, oh, I'm holding upside down, and really happy with the graphic liner formula in here. I feel like it's pretty easy to work with, and I was very happy overall with how it turned out on my eyes. So yeah, you guys will have to tell me what you guys think. Are you guys planning to pick up this eyeshadow palette? Does this eyeshadow palette inspire you? Are you excited for it? I love the mixture of the deep tones and more neutral tones with the bold. I feel like they pair so well. And something I was thinking about, the first look that I did in this video was a look that reminded me of something I had done with the Flawless Cosmetics Tropical Paradise palette, and I actually just finished my Palette Palooza review of that, and I had said that I wished I could have used those shades and had more depth with the palette, like another row of deep tones, because I would have liked it so much more. And that's what this palette reminds me, because you have all these bold colors down here, but then you have the depth up here to play with it and really enhance it. And yeah, that look just really reminded me of a look I did with that, except I was able to use the black and get the depth that I wanted. So I thought that was a little funny because I just reviewed that, but just thought to throw that out there if you saw that palette and liked some of those colors in it. But anyway, I am rambling at this point. I really am excited for this palette and very thrilled to continue using it. And yeah, you have to let me know what you guys think. Congratulations to Kailav on another launch, and I hope it goes well, and I can't wait to see what you guys think of this. Definitely leave me a comment down below in the comment section and let me know. But yeah, that is pretty much going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I really do enjoy getting to put together these 3 looks, 1 palette plus review videos. I feel like they're just so packed with information, and always just fun for me to record, fun for me to edit, and I always can't wait to see what you guys think when I publish them. So with all that said, I'm over on Instagram, LadyKatie92, if you want to follow me over there for reels, up close eye pictures, all that sort of thing. Thank you again to Kailav Beauty for sending me these palettes, and congratulations once again. I know I'm gonna forget it. Sunshine the Bee, congratulations on this launch. I think it's beautifully done. And with all that said, I will see you guys very soon in my next video. Bye guys.